What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. BobbyFi with my man, Eric Sheets Haber. We have a nice little slate for us ahead on this Wednesday night. Tuesday was good for me on DraftKings, not good on my one FanDuel lineup. Sheets, how was your night? And then what do you think about the slate?
Mine was not good on either side. But tonight is a new night and ready to get after it. We're going to do a basketball video, and then we're going to do an NFL first look. Yeah, we're ready to go.
Let's do it. All right, so let's start. I mean, this is I did have some overall things on this slate. Like, I think there's like 3 games that are especially more interesting to target, but we obviously need to wait on injury information, which that could be totally, nonsense by the time that goes on. We have all the Miami news, so just keep an eye out for that. But there are 3 games that stand out above the rest. This first one is not one of them for me, and I'm having trouble getting to much of anything in this Minnesota-Washington game. The only thing that I feel like I could maybe take a dart throw on Kuzma, or not even a dart throw. I guess it's an okay play. And then Gafford, who is putting up significant numbers in limited minutes. It's a little tricky because they're both he and Harrell. Like, I could even make an argument for Harrell, I feel like, too. But I just not finding myself loving either of these spots. I do want to attack bigs against Minnesota. I always talk about that, about how the offensive rebounding goes up. This Towns leaves the basket wide open when he goes to try and block shots. I feel like it's a good spot for a guy like Gafford or for Harrell, but that splitting minutes makes it just tricky for me. So I'm probably not going to be doing much in this first game.
Yeah, I got a couple of things, nothing major, but from the Washington side, I agree. Gafford's not bad. Avdia is not bad. Minnesota, I do like Cat. And then I don't know whether the basketball guys were listening, but like a week or so ago, I pointed out there's a guy maybe will play one day. Is it Taurean Prince time yet?
I mean, I don't know. I can't see him being like justifiable value. I mean, he did hit 20 fantasy points once this year, and that was the game that he didn't play that many minutes, and that's just sort of a fluky thing. I can't see that. I mean, unless we hear about if Vanderbilt. Well, Edwards is questionable. I mean, if Vanderbilt and McDaniels are out again, yeah, maybe. I mean, but even last time they were out, he only played 22 minutes, 3,100. Sure, he could be a guy, but we would just literally be relying on him standing in the corner, and maybe they double everybody else, need some threes. I don't know. It's just hard for me to get there personally. Yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine by the end of the day he's the better value unless all those other guys are out.
All right. Moving on.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, but if those guys are out, keep an eye out for Beasley. That would be one I could get behind, because at least he could shoot himself into a nice game. And this is one of the games that I like. We have no Bogdanovich, which means, and we have a questionable Herder. I mean, a questionable Reddish. So I think that obviously Reddish and Herder are both in play. Herder, you have the higher upside in minutes, but certainly the production can leave something to be desired. And you've got Reddish, who's actually been pretty productive for the most part in his minutes. Got injured in the last one. We'll see if he plays. But at 3,400, that's a play I would get behind as a potential value. I also think Trae Young gets a boost, and John Collins is in a good spot against this front line. So those are all guys for me that I have some pretty heavy interest in. And then on the Indy side, I'm not gonna, I don't care about one game and what happens. I'm going to go right back to Duarte and LeVert. I think Brogdon is a good play as well, and we'll have to see what happens with Turner. All these guys are still in play and solid plays, even with all of that. Sabonis would be a much, much stronger play if there's no Turner. So I really like this game. I'm targeting it every which way, but LeVert and Duarte, and then one of the Reddish Herder thing with Trae or John Collins, I think is really logical.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I like Reddish if he in fact plays. And I like Herder whether or not Reddish plays, but if Reddish doesn't play, obviously Herder, is going to be a better play. I like Trae, I like Collins, literally everything you said, Trae and Collins, and then on the Indianapolis side, I didn't think of Duarte, but I definitely identified LeVert and Brogdon as very, very strong plays, and I have no problem playing them together. I couldn't agree with you more. I think this is one of the key games.
So one thing that's just interesting to me about the Duarte thing, now, while Minnesota will play the two guards, but the truth is Edwards is Edwards is physically like a power forward, but Duarte should see a lot more run in this game than he saw in the last game, especially if there's no Miles Turner. I think I think his minutes, I have him projected. I think I have too high of a minutes projection on him, but I think he is going to play 20. I think he's more often in the 28-minute range. And at 4K, I just think this is a better matchup for him to be on the court longer. And so I'm just interested in that one. I think the LeVert thing is obviously probably the best play. And I don't mind if people want to take chances with instead of playing Duarte, taking shots on McConnell. As of right now, those guys could be really good value if there's no Miles Turner.
Yep.
All right. Denver and Orlando. This is a weird spot because I do think Jokic should just go off, but there's 4 legitimately good spend ups. Trey being, the lower end of the spend ups I really like. Trey is my number 4. I think Jokic is probably my third favorite. Maybe I could argue for second. It's really close. And I think we're going to end up having the room by the end of the day is just my guess. And then you got potential Campazzo value. I feel like we can do better. I don't know. I think it's okay, the Campazzo thing. But on the other side, you have to worry about the game staying close, of course. And, the guy who's going to be low owned again, because it's basically the same situation for him every day. And it's not getting any better with Cole Anthony coming back. But I will take shots on the 5 or 30 fantasy points from Terence Ross at 3,200. Wendell Carter is a reasonable play, but I worry about this game staying close. I also think as low as the total is, I kind of like the under in this game. So I'm having trouble what to do on the other side if I played Jokic. And also, do I really want to bet on this game staying close? So there's just a few things that I'm worried about a little bit. What are your thoughts on this one, Sheets?
Yeah, I think Jokic is, I think Jokic and Giannis are both, very, very expensive spend ups that are going to project for a lot of raw points. And it's the question of the day every day with this new pricing structure. That's the best I can describe this. It's kind of like a new pricing structure. Is whether it's worth paying for those and going cheapo, or playing someone like, I don't know, playing like Paul George alongside of or Trey, like you're saying, you know what I mean? Like if you can get 2 of those somehow, and I think that, like you said, when you're dealing with an $11,800 player, you do have to consider stuff like blowout risk and things like that a little bit more than when you're playing a $5,200 guy, for example. If this game stays close, I think that he's obviously in a really, really good spot. And I rate him honestly, very similar to Giannis with respect to if you presume both games stay close. Now, you could argue the Milwaukee game's got a little bit better shot at that happening. I don't even know what the spread is actually on these 2 games. Just seems logical that I would say Milwaukee would be like a 9, and Denver would be like a 7. Is that about right or no?
8, yeah, very close. 8 for Denver, but they've not nailed the 9 on Milwaukee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's close enough. They're both pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But instinctively, you kind of think that the Giannis play would be better, right? I don't know, just because of it just feels that way because Charlotte's got really guys that can do whatever.
And
I happen to like Cole Anthony today coming back.
Okay.
I still like Wendell Carter Jr. I mean, he's been playing 30 minutes a game, so the game does stay close. You can count on him 30 minutes, and not a smash or anything like that, but I like them. So you can play a lineup with Jokic, Anthony, and Wendell Carter Jr. if you want. I didn't really look into Campazzo stuff or anything like that. I just found Jokic, Anthony, and Wendell Carter.
Yeah, I get those guys. I think. Anthony is one I didn't think about as this first game coming back, but I understand it. I also want to mention that if we're going to talk about thin value, Gary Harris should probably start being in that conversation, just based on the fact that the minutes that he plays. It is also, by the way, a little. Obviously, this is not a real revenge thing, but it says all the guys he used to play with. He's playing 30 minutes a game. He's 3,700. He's put up 23 or more in 3 of the last 4, and he's 3,700. But the other guy I want to mention is the price. The sticker shock might keep people off of him, but Franz Wagner has been 31, 28, 30, 43 over his last. It's just kind of an interesting mid-tier play that I'm not sure people are going to feel too comfortable with. So I do like Wagner a little bit. All right, let's talk Philly and Boston. And actually, what's a good game, but I don't have any interest in stacking it up. Sheets, why don't you start off with this one?
Yeah, I have the game completely X'd except for one spot, and that would be a perhaps 5% owned Joel Embiid, just because I just guys like that when they're really low owned, I just kind of always want to play. So
Yes,
I will do some of it. So that's pretty much all I have in this game.
I think that's what I've got, and I've got that as a tremendous play. I can't see the way that he gets ownership tonight. You have honestly, no one can exactly guard him unless there's going to be a blowout of some sort, or they don't really games where they really need him. And I'm not saying they really need him in this game, but they are 7-point favorites, which seemed a little high. But he was awful against Orlando in that game. They blew him out, and he was 4 for 16. He put up 44 in 29 minutes. Obviously had the big 70-point game in the overtimer against Minnesota. But Embiid, I mean, he could absolutely be the highest scoring player on the slate. And he's 10-7. I mean, you get a significant discount off him off the other guys. His projections are absolutely ridiculous to me. He's going to get 50 here more than he's not. I really, really like the Embiid play. Unless Jaylen Brown is out, I can't do anything on the Celtics side. But I really, really like this Joel Embiid play. And I think that partly I'm lured in by the lack of ownership, but I know Horford is a tremendous all around help team defender historically and everything, but he's not. I mean, look at the size difference. What are you going to do with him? And not even having the extra body and the extra big. I honestly don't know how they guard him outside of double teaming him. He'll just say, okay, then I'll take my triple double tonight or something. I think Embiid is a tremendous tournament play. My guess is a lot of sharp people will get on it. By a lot, I mean, like you said, 5% probably from my initial look at him being like less than 1% owned. But I think he's a great pivot off of some really good names at the top, and is in a game that I think will be arguably the most competitive of anybody in the spending range. I really, really like that call. I really like that play. And other than that, I don't have a lot of interest in this game at the moment. The only thing I'd say is that I wish Marcus Smart was a bit cheaper, because I could see him having a nice game here. He's been really, really good, very active. What do you got? 42, 36, 40 his last 3 games. 6,200 is a little more than I want. It's still not unreasonable, but if he was back in that 5,500 range, to get that extra 700 savings, I would feel a lot better about it. But I love the Embiid call. I'm probably gonna start off by doing that as a spend up.
All right, so Cleveland, Miami. I guess I'll start with this one. I don't like anything on Cleveland, and Miami is just tilting. Like the game time is literally the worst time. It's 7:30, right? So you're not gonna get the news before lock, and you probably won't get it before lock. I just have this weird feeling that it happens at like 7:09 or something like that.
Right.
Where you have to commit to these 3 first games, and literally everybody relevant on Miami is questionable. Right? Right. You got Butler questionable, Bam questionable, Hero questionable. They're all questionable, and I just don't think you're going to know beforehand that it's just a little tilting. But you know what, you prepare for it, whatever it is. I guess you have to play either. If all 3 of them are out somehow, you got to play the other, all the other losers on the team, right? And even Dedmon's questionable. So Bam gets ruled out, and Dedmon's not available. What do? You play PJ Tucker? I mean, it's just kind of a tough spot to analyze well in advance, and it might even be a tough spot to analyze at 6 o'clock. You're going to continue to have to be flexible with what's going on in that game.
Yeah, for sure. I think if Butler and Bam are out, then both Hero and Lowry, but especially Hero, I think are terrific plays. I will reiterate what's going to happen though. Like, look, it's going to be one of these guards probably getting there, and probably maybe 2. But we can't just like lock up. Like, Gabe Vincent played the minutes the other night and ended up eventually kind of getting there, but he was also cheaper then. He's up to 4,200 now. Caleb Martin, who took 15 shots, which you'd love to see, would be the other guard you'd consider, but he's, again, is he really going to take 15 shots every time? And he literally needs to, because he doesn't do anything else on the court. And then it would be back to Max Struss if you wanted to take the 3-point shooting angle. For me, I would probably end up siding with Martin or Vincent over those guys, over the other. But I don't think if everybody was going to say, okay, well, Duncan Robinson's a lock now, I'm very happy to do what we did the other day and just fade that. I mean, the guy had 10 fantasy points and he was 45% owned the other day, or whatever it was. So that's just the what if. I agree with you about Cleveland. The only thing I'd say about Cleveland is I think Mobley is a guy we're going to have to like just take shots on, and he's always going to seem like a little bit projection off. But I think you're going to see, especially, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can do it tonight, but I think he's going to be a guy I sort of want to keep playing. Like I think he's similar to Wendell Carter, you know, and I haven't been playing it. You know, we haven't talked about him much, so I just want to throw that out there, but probably not tonight.
What's the over/under in that game? Like 80?
It's 206, which just seems high, like
very high.
And Miami's only a 6-point favorite, which could lead you to believe one guy's going to be injured because
someone's out.
There's but I don't think that. But I actually think Cleveland's pretty good. That's the only other thing. Vegas has been pretty high on Cleveland, so it's hard to know. Okay, you want to start off Charlotte and Milwaukee? This is obviously one of the better stacked games if it can stay close.
Yeah, I don't like it as I like other stuff better. Because as usual, like the Charlotte guys are just kind of fair. The only guy who still I think is too cheap is PJ Washington from Charlotte, and I'll tell the Milwaukee guy who's popping the most for me is actually Drew. Is actually Holiday. I like him more than Middleton. I like him more than Giannis. So I don't know if I'm going to stack this game. I just you have to play guys that are. Number one, you probably want to play Giannis, and he's expensive, and you're naturally playing a too expensive Charlotte guy, whichever one you take. It's a lot of money to spend. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. I'm honestly probably going to end up fading Giannis, and probably playing Drew Holiday as a one-off or something like that, and probably fading the stack on the Charlotte side, maybe playing PJ Washington as a one-off. That's what I would do if the slate locked in 20 minutes. You know, who knows what happens later.
Yeah, so here's when I like the Milwaukee side, obviously, for stacks. So there's one of those guys, one of Middleton, Holiday, or Giannis, I could see using in every lineup. When we talk about the Lakers, that we should really say that about Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte not only like doesn't play defense, they play so freaking fast, man.
Right.
We just got Jaden McDaniels ruled out. Jalen Noel, now questionable. We'll figure out that stuff later. I think Hayward is a really good play here. And I don't even think there's a huge amount of risk involved in this. And I should knock on wood as I say that. He's active. He's been active enough on the court. But you can't just look at game logs. And even that, by the way, the game logs even stand out for him as being solid. But this is a ceiling game environment. This is a game with a 231 total. We're talking like 20 points higher basically than almost any game on the slate. It's just you have to try and take those chances. And whether it's Hayward in Washington or Oubre, who seems priced up, but at the same time, when he gets going, it doesn't even matter because he just takes a million shots. I mean, look at Oubre's shot chart, 17, 17, 19, 17. He's out there chucking, and he's going to try and cut every passing lane. You know what I mean? He's going to try and get every steal. And at 5,400, I just feel like there's 6 to 7x easy possibilities for at least two of these guys, Oubre, Washington, and Hayward being my favorite because of the pricing. But I'll tell you what, if Cody Martin is out again, though, then I'd really like Oubre. Then I would like Washington a little better. And I think that this could be a spot where you could play. The only problem is we just had the Embiid conversation. Can we really play LaMelo over Embiid basically at the same price? I don't think so. But I think it's a good spot to take a shot. You have a team that gives up tons of threes, that plays super fast in transition. I could see that being a really like a good long shot play. It's just, is he better than Embiid? Probably not. But I love the Holiday, Middleton, or Giannis, probably not together. But it is the kind of environment where you could probably play two of them together if you could afford to. I think you take one of those guys, then you play them with Grayson Allen in a probably, the best matchup he's seen in a while. And he's playing the minutes. He hasn't been shooting as much because he obviously some of the usage is gone. In this kind of a matchup, I think you could see a big game out of him. So we'll wait and see. We'll make sure. I know it sounds really weird to say that it matters, but Cody Martin, whether he plays or not, is actually fairly significant for me on the Charlotte side because it does open up the extra couple minutes for maybe PJ Washington to play 32 or 33 instead of 30, or and then Gordon Hayward playing 35 or 36 instead of 33. Those minutes have to spread out around, and all of these guys would get a boost. Well, I don't like that price on Rozier or Bridges. I do think this, again, sometimes you just have to play games with ceiling environments a little differently, in my opinion, and I think they can both put up a 50. So I want to sprinkle parts of that game in, even if some of the plays on their own look kind of thin.
I imagine that at some point in your recent life, you've seen Pardon the Interruption on ESPN. and they have something at the end like errors and omissions or something like that. I keep thinking of how we want to do that with this type of show. Like if I forgot to say something in like an earlier game, whether we wait till the end or just kind of just do it as I think about it. I think I'll just do it now. As I'm staring, in case I forget later. You mentioned Campazzo for Denver. I don't know if you had mentioned it, but also Bones Highland still looks like a good value over there. For me at least, also. Is
Bones Highland out tonight?
Oh, well, if he's out, he's probably a little less.
I have him out of the player pool, which I thought was giving me the Campazzo boost.
Oh, I don't have that. You could be right, but
no, yeah, that's interesting. So keep an eye out on that. We've seen it both ways before, haven't we?
Oh yeah, you're right. Look at that. Bones Highland is out. There it is.
Yeah.
Health and safety protocols. That's the answer then. Okay.
Yeah. So keep an eye and
update that. I will update that later then. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why I thought I was getting the Campazzo.
It was an error. It was an error of the error. It wasn't even an error. Okay, there it is.
I'll tell you what, I would have taken a shot. I'll take a shot on that guy. That guy he's pretty fun to watch play, actually.
Yeah.
All right, Houston, OKC. This is another game that is ugly as hell, but it is a real life game. But I like some pieces of this, and I think I like them maybe a little more than the field is liking them. Armani Brooks is borderline kind of thinnish, that play. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go ahead and do that. I do think that Tate is a terrific play at 5,400. I don't mind the 5,400 on him at all. I like Porter, even though the price seems high for him. I like the matchup. And again, this guy, as much as I can tell anything, you want to talk about doing stuff. He was 4 for 17 in his last game, had a triple-double though, and put up 49 fantasy points. He's just got a massive, massive ceiling. And without Green there, these shots are going to go somewhere. And Porter Jr. or whether it's Porter Jr. creating and finding someone else, I really like those guys a lot. I think Garrison Matthews is in play, believe it or not. I mean, it feels weird to say that out loud, but 4,300.
He's good. I like him.
All he does is get 25. I mean, and he's got, again, a game environment that the game should stay close. He should play 30 minutes plus.
Nobody plays defense. I mean,
why not? So I like a lot of pieces on this Houston. I wish they just traded Eric Gordon already, because I hate that he's mucking up all these minutes for these other guys. And I love Eric Gordon. I actually hope he comes to the Lakers. I really want that trade to be done at some point. I feel bad for him just wasting away.
What are you gonna do with him at the Lakers?
No, they need a guy like that. Eric Gordon's a terrific defender. Eric Gordon is a step up from where Malik Monk is. He's a step up from where all these other guys are. Right. It's a huge difference. And he's also played in big games, won, you know what I mean? He's competitive anyway. I love Lou Dort on the other side. I think that people aren't going to play him tonight. And we know that there's a wide range of outcomes for him, but 5,600 is very reasonable for a guy with his upside. And Darius Baisley is standing out as being really cheap, even though we sometimes his minute fluctuations have been crazy. I just think that I'm open to all these guys. So I kind of like an ugly game stack here.
Dude, I'm telling you, we never talk about the slate beforehand. And the way I do it, I look through my sheets, and then I write down literally on a piece of paper, like the games where I like. And this is Houston and OKC. We got Brooks, Tate, Dort, Baisley. Literally those four guys. So we're on the same page. I didn't quite get to Porter, obviously, because he's a little expensive, but those other four I like. Yeah,
Porter is I can't get over this usage with him.
It's ridiculous.
It's pretty nuts. And then it's not just the fact that he's got one of the highest usage rates. It's they don't. I mean, that's even before they lost Jalen Green. He just, I don't know. I feel like he's a walking he's projected for 35. I would have him projected closer to 40 if it was me doing projection. That's his real median output. I mean, in this current situation, like I said, he put up 49 with
who was the other guy like him? I remember him. He was stuck in the G League, and then some agent of his, some girl helped him along, and then he got his shot, and he came back on fire last year.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
That was Kevin Porter Jr. But there was another one.
I thought you said no, but
another one like him. I keep forgetting some Cleveland guy, I think, but that was Porter also, right?
Yeah.
There was I think there was somebody else. He came back, had a big game at 3K, and people thought, his career was revitalized. Then he disappeared off the face of the earth again. Damn it, now I forget who it is.
I don't know. Dennis Smith had a couple of things like that before.
Yeah. All right, anyway, so this is my game that I want to start, the Dallas-New Orleans game.
Okay.
I want to play – I do want to play Luka today. I wouldn't mind playing KP also, or either. I wouldn't mind playing Brunson, but I think I want to play Luka today. And I think I want to play all this New Orleans stuff. I want to play Devontae Graham at sub 5K. I want to play Josh Hart. I want to play Brandon Ingram, who I never play. And I want to play that guy you keep telling me about that I never had a chance to play, that Herb Jones guy.
Yeah.
I like all this. And it's a later game. It's 8 o'clock, I guess. So it's not like a late game. But this is kind of the one I like. I like both the Atlanta, Indiana, as well as the Dallas, New Orleans game. These are my two favorites.
Yeah, I didn't see this as maybe as much of a full game stack. It actually makes sense from all the player pricing. I mean, I like the Ingram, and I love the Luka play. I think that, but I think that he's going to end up not like crazy owned, where I think he probably, you get a little discount off of Giannis, but it's not that much. So he's only a tiny bit cheaper than Jokic, so people will probably go there. So I think, maybe one thing we can do, talking about the slate early in the day, is prioritize an Embiid and Luka, like not necessarily together, but like you're already getting the lower owned of the guys with easily Sheets. We know this, they could easily put up 70. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a great matchup for Luka, especially. So I'm with you. I can't get to the other guys on Dallas personally. Brunson has a tournament play, but if he's going to be owned at 5K, he tends to get owned. It's like, it's just a lot. They have a lot of bodies, assuming that KP plays. If Porzingis doesn't play, then let's load up Jalen Brunson, like whatever. It doesn't matter if he was 6K. But
we got Hart as a late question. Well, that's not good.
Yeah, that's what that could open up a really, really cheap Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Right. And it's, just a little bit of a boost for Devontae Graham and all the Devontae Graham, instead of playing 28, might play 34 or 36. Those things make a huge difference in these kind of situations. So I actually really like that side. I love the Graham and Ingram play. Those are my two favorites. And I like Herb Jones as a filler piece. If you're going to play it, even if you just play Luka on the other side, that's still a nice little 4-man game stack that I think makes a lot of sense. I don't think I could get to J-Val, but I will say he could absolutely demolish this front line. They don't have anybody to physically match up with him. We saw what he did the other night against the Clippers. He's got legitimate, he just did it. So he's obviously got it legitimately. He made 7 out of 8 threes. That's probably not going to happen again. But on top of that, take away the threes even. He had 32 minutes. He put up 70. It's just, I don't know. I don't think I can do it tonight, but I just thought I'd throw it out there because he's another completely unowned guy you could include there. All right. You want to?
He was 1 for his last 11 from 3 in the previous 4 games.
Really? And then he goes 7 for 8. That's so typical. If he gets hot from 3, he's going to put up 50 plus fantasy points just in his sleep. All right. Sacramento and LA. I think that this is another tough one to analyze for me because the Bagley Mo Harkless thing, that's enough minutes to where it does change things. Like Netu went from being a borderline play yesterday to being an absolutely awesome play. And nobody adjusted though. And nobody adjusted their ownership. Nobody played. I did. I went through and I immediately made sure to put him in everything. But when you take away the other frontline guys and he's going to get the minutes, he showed us consistently. They'll play him a ton of minutes in that spot, and he's basically, I don't want to say he's a walking double-double, but in that spot, these situations without the other guys who take up his minutes, he's a pretty awesome play. If Bagley and Harkless are out again, I'm going to do what else I switched on to last night late and take some more shots with a guy who they didn't give minutes to, but was absolutely crushing. I don't know why he doesn't get minutes sometimes. And I guess it's just too many guards. But Terence Davis, everything's going to show up for Davion Mitchell. Yeah. Terence Davis is actually much more productive than Davion Mitchell is. They just don't play him the same minutes. So they might seem a little thin at first, but I think all those guys are interesting. And I think that it's, even though it's a back-to-back and Holmes has the injury, we have to keep an eye out for that too. He played a lot of minutes last night, but 5,800, he put up 44 against the Lakers last night. We talked about how we liked the matchup for him. I think he's a great play here tonight. And then I just think that this game, the Sacramento's guys are getting a little overlooked. And I think that they're outmatched a little bit. They have a team that plays good defense against them, but you have just so much, so much upside with each of the plays. Fox is too expensive. So I would lean Halliburton or Hield. And I don't really care about what their recent last couple of games look like. If there's no Bagley or Harkless, I will get back to being heavily invested in this game. If Bagley and Harkless we believe are going to play, which we probably won't know, I'm going to probably stay away from this game outside of still playing some Metu. And then Reggie Jackson is my only Clipper of major interest. I'm going to point out the same thing I point out about Paul George every day. He's being over projected every single game, every single day. What his projection is he's projected. Isn't he projected for a higher number than Embiid today at 45 fantasy points? I mean, I just think, look, he does maybe get there over his last 10 games since they've gotten healthier. He's been over 45 one time. Like, it just seems like even talking about him at 10-2. And by the way, he gets played too. And I'm not saying he won't have 60s and 70s, but when you compare him to these other guys, I think Valanciunas is more viable at 9,200 than Paul George at 10-2. He's going to have games where it's going to be like, oh, look, Bobby said didn't like Paul George, whatever. It's Sacramento. I just think we're reaching for it, especially with Morris back eating up those minutes, who is more aggressive. You have everybody healthy, and they don't need him to do absolutely everything on offense. So I'll play Reggie Jackson, and I will continue fading Paul George. As I was saying earlier in the season, I shouldn't be doing. Now I think it's the time we should be, and I'll take Reggie Jackson instead.
Me too. I like Mitchell, and I agree with your comment on Paul George. He's going to still project pretty well because of some results that he's had. But like you said, Morris back, and just not needing him to do everything, and you can't just do. I mean, some people can, but I don't think Paul George is the kind of guy that can just do everything for like a whole season. You know what I mean? Like, just a different. I don't know. It just seems different than some of these other guys. I don't know. I have no support of that, but like you compare a guy like Luka and Giannis and like all these other guys. Yeah, I mean, George can go on hot streaks. He could, when guys are out, he decides to really just take it upon himself to do everything he can. But it just seems as though he's just a little cut below those guys, with respect to taking over an entire team, So, and 10-2 is a lot. So, and, right. and unfortunately, unlike kind of like a LaMelo Ball, I mean, Paul George is going to he's always going to have to score, right? Mm-hmm. To make it where he's not much of an assist guy. So he's got to have to be in a situation where he needs and wants and does take over for the whole team. Mm-hmm. It's just a tough spot.
But look at him just versus LaMelo. LaMelo is basically every other game at least like-ish. He's 50 some odd. Paul, we haven't seen it. I mean, since the beginning of the year when he really was carrying everything, we haven't seen that same thing. And I think that at this moment of the season, LaMelo is the better guy to play when they're at the same price range. You know what I mean? Especially because he's going to get 1/10 the ownership.
Makes sense to me.
Because everybody's looking, and I just wanted to say one quick thing about how people are analyzing data. They're taking all of his season-long numbers as if that even matters. And honestly, in basketball, especially these days, don't look at that. And don't only over game watch. But when you see 10 games in a row of a guy getting where you need to be, and everybody's analyzing and saying, well, he averages this much in these situations, like, well, those first 10 games were different. There's 4 players that are playing for them that weren't playing at that time. It's not the same thing. So I think that's a way people misuse data sometimes.
And don't forget also, I think we did a good job analyzing this yesterday. Like when to look at game logs versus when we normally. A lot of it's a function of ownership. We went through this with what's his name yesterday with Precious, right? We went through his game log. Yeah. Like no, and yet he's 70% owned. He didn't end up being 70. He ended up being still very popular.
At 50 or so.
And then that's when you look at stuff like that. Now, Paul George, I don't think Paul George is going to be particularly high owned today.
No, I mean, I think that just based on the median projection, I would guess he ends up double digit owned. Not.
Oh, I have him at like 24%.
Oh, I have him like 10 to 12. I think 20% is way like that's crazy. I will say on FanDuel at 8,600, we're having a different conversation. Like it's Paul George at 8,600. That I can get on board with a guy with a 70 upside. But I just don't think and
I have him on FanDuel at 45% off.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. But that's where. So I think if you're going to play him, though, you still, even with the ownership gap, I think you still play him over on FanDuel. All right, I do want to just real quick go through some of my favorite plays. Metu, Graham on the lower end, Embiid and Luka. I like that idea of trying to just using that as a good way of getting different, playing those guys instead of the others. I think that's a great way to go. And if you can play both of them in the same lineup, which I believe you'll be able to by the time the day ends, if that's a route you want to go, I think is viable. Drew, Hayward, Tate, Wagner, one of Herter or Reddish. Collins, Levert, Reggie Jackson, Duarte, Dort, and Matthews. That's my list.
LaMelo, I'm just going to concentrate on the low-owned ones for a minute. Luka, LaMelo, maybe Trey goes a little lower owned. I like that. Embiid, you mentioned. Another one from that Atlanta game. I have Collins a sub 10%. Yeah, there's stuff you could do tonight. Maybe you're right. Maybe that Indiana game is what. And you know what? You're right. And the Milwaukee game does have the high total, but you know these guys are priced accordingly. So yeah, I kind of like the Indiana game. I kind of like the New Orleans game. I'm kind of into making a smaller player pool today for some reason. I don't know why. It just feels like it. And I have no problem mixing out some of these guys like Paul George. I mean, I'm especially on DraftKings. I don't have to play him. And between you and me, I don't have to play Giannis either. So I mean, there's options there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do. I mean, I still like the honest play, but I just love this idea of just getting different with these other guys who are just a little cheaper, who are not going to get the ownership.
All right. We'll be there at 6 tonight, and we're going to come back with a football video in a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck, everybody.